Hi everybody, welcome back to the broadcast studio here at World Procurement Congress, powered by SAP Ariba, and we've got a bit of an SAP fest going on. I'm delighted that Nico, our Chief Procurement Officer from SAP, has joined us. I'm also equally as delighted that Hildie from our product marketing team has also joined us here as well. We're going to talk a little bit about spend visibility and its impacts, and also some of the changes that we're kind of seeing and the disruptions that we're seeing around procurement at the moment. So Nico, let me ask you around, what do you think the key challenges, either SAP, but also in your previous experience as well, in achieving spend visibility, and what are the impacts of those issues?
Okay, no, that's a fantastic question, and thank God I'm now the CPO of SAP for more than 3 years, and in most cases we have fixed the basic when it comes to spend visibility. But in my former roles, I was always, of course, having the challenge of having a global role, of course, how to consolidate different data points, via collecting Excel files on spend visibility on different spends across the globes, trying to categorize them, etc. So a lot of maverick buying, a lot of late decision because you don't have your data together, no control, not 100% sure about your risk management topics, etc. Forget about sustainability efforts. I think these days, thank God, are over. At SAP, one process, one system. We're going to have Ariba for the goods, we got for the services fee class, and for travel we're going to have Concur, but on a global scale, a single platform and a single process. So that is fantastic. I have all of the information available. I can drill down to a single PO within 30 seconds, which even me as a CPO, and not the power user, that works well. So the basics are done. The prerequisite of really making informed real-time data decisions are there at the end. Yeah?
So having that kind of single source of truth of data that is going to allow you to capture all the spend is something that is obviously key for any procurement leader to kind of deliver. And I know the pain of coding. I know the pain of trying to get those codes right, and UNSPSC is a wonderful thing. But well, turning to you, maybe I can ask you around, what do you think the role of technology is more broadly, and what are you hearing from our customers around how they're using technology to address the spend visibility issues that they undoubtedly have, and how does it impact their processes as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the technology that customers are using or the community is using really is the foundation, the analysis, the spend analysis technology, bringing all the data together, as you mentioned, gives you the full visibility, like what we like to call, the insights to action, giving you the insights so that you can take the action in your sourcing and category management areas. So, that's kind of the foundation, and it's really helping to streamline the process. And eventually with Gen AI helping with, streamlining the classification and the categorization in a way that makes it easy for us to.
I think it's absolutely one of the top use cases. I'm glad you brought that up. That I see the two main use cases that get talked about a lot is, number one is the spend classification and spend analysis as Gen AI, to both classify and also to identify opportunities in the data, and the other one being category management and the market analysis and the ability to do a market analysis using Gen AI and potentially shortening that process through. Let's just thinking around, once we fix the spend visibility, which you said you have, what about what its relationship is with strategic sourcing, but also supplier relationship management? I think SRM, and I know you've just come from a roundtable talking about partnerships. SRM has kind of driven up not just procurement's agenda, but the rest of the C-suite's agenda over the last few years. So using spend visibility and getting better spend to help those, how have SAP gone about doing things like that?
Yeah, it's a bit like Hildie said. It's a foundation for doing any kind of decision. I mean, what we're just currently rolling out is the category management tool at that moment in time, where it all comes together on the sourcing side as well as on the supplier management side, where you have all of the spend data in one go. You're going to have all of the contract data out of Ariba contracts, and then you can do your proper category strategy, and out of that one you define, okay, these are the sourcing initiatives for the upcoming years. You align that with your LOB, where you being acknowledged as a strategic business partner, because if you don't have your data and your facts together, they don't take you serious. But there, with a combined strategy, you really can align it with the lines of business. Agree, these are the core initiatives, but also you define on the supplier side, as you quite widely mentioned, supplier relationship management. If you have your numbers in order and you're not asking the vendor, of course, what is my spend for last year, or you're running an RFP by saying, okay, I don't know exactly about the numbers I'm predicting because I don't have the real-time data, then you lose a bit of credibility. And with a proper foundation, you can work and you can challenge, but also, hey, you can develop a supplier relationship on eye-to-eye level. Internally, as I said, with the lines of business, with our key stakeholders, but also externally with the vendors.
So there's that trust in the data really that's going to drive all of that, and there's some interesting research around how much procurement trusts its own data, and if procurement doesn't trust its data, why would the business trust its data? Why would the suppliers trust its data? And to your point, I remember putting into contracts an obligation on the suppliers to send me spend data. This is going back in the 80s and 90s, to show my age. Send me spend data every quarter so that we could track how much the spend was, and manually trying to pull them all together on various pieces of computer printout. Hildie, what are you hearing from customers around the relationship between like trusting the data and what they're going to do with it and how they're going to improve it, and the relationships with the suppliers, and I think the internal collaboration as well? Yes,
internal collaboration and awareness, I think, is very key for procurement leaders right now to be able to bring together all the spend, because spend is happening in several different areas. So really working on that internal collaboration with all of your stakeholders. On the supplier relationship side, you've mentioned it, being ready with the data when talking to the suppliers, but also the visibility in figuring out which suppliers to work with, and if there's any consolidation that needs to be done, or if you have one supplier you're really working closely with, making sure that we're living up to the contractual terms and they're delivering the services they're supposed to.
I think that's a really important point around, we'll have made contractual obligations to suppliers, and if we're wanting to develop the relationship, the core basis of trust is to keep your promises.
True.
And those promises are in the contract, and we need to keep them. And if we don't keep them, then there just can't be any trust at all. So I think that's a really, really good point. Thinking about the last 18 months, there's been a bit of inflation around. I think it's been some real challenges in terms of cost containment, cost management. I think I remember having a conversation with a bunch of CPOs and asking them, so what are you doing from a cost savings perspective? And all of them went, no, this is about mitigating the things that are coming. It's not, we're taking a lot of those savings targets off the table because of it. So I guess my question here is, from an SAP perspective, how have you altered your strategies to kind of, take notice of all those things?
Yeah, which is an interesting one, because you mentioned the last 18 months. For the SAP world in procurement, it was even starting more than 24 months, because all of a sudden, when the Ukraine war starts, we needed to get out of the Russia market, and all of a sudden we had a big bottom line impact. So we were asked and challenged from the procurement side of things, okay, how can we really do a big, substantial amount of savings on a third-party spend? So we started more technically with introducing a spend council, which we called, where we made it a bit more rigid on the controls and on the approvals of certain spend, where we looked at various categories. Okay, how can we drive down demand just to having a short-term effect? And that over time develops more and more into more strategic kind of things, which we currently at the moment, we have a bit of a transformation program where it comes not only to demand, of course, to critically looking at those, but also on standardization, on specifications, up to all of the usual levers like supplier consolidation, but also commercial levers, which we're doing as well. But this is, I wouldn't say the bread and butter of a good category management, but it's a mix of all of these levers: demand, specification, understanding proper and doing proper cost structure analysis is as important as it ever was, and thank God a bit of AI helps us in the category management side of things as well, that our managers, category managers really understand if the vendors is claiming, hey, I need to have 10% price increase, really substantiate, of course, which one, what's his cost structure really showing and what's the numbers there. So basics, but it needs to be formulated and brought together in a strategy, and we had some good progress.
It's interesting because in the Economist study that we did last year, we asked the question, what can you most do to improve category management? And the number one answer was should cost analysis.
Okay, yeah.
Was building should cost analysis models, and I think it's like number 2 or number 3 this year. So it's fascinating that we continue to see that kind of thing, because yeah, you're absolutely right. If you start from zero and build it up, you'll get a real understanding of what it should be, and it certainly informs the negotiation. We better, Hildie, let's broaden this out outside of SAP. I think many of our customers and organizations that we speak with have been having those issues. What differing strategies have you been seeing?
I mean, it was discussed today in the keynotes, the digitalization, digitalization of source to pay and using technology as the foundation to streamline these processes. And then again, building the supplier relationships, based on the visibility.
I think the supplier relationships one is an interesting one for me in terms of, becoming a customer of choice, helping organizations to kind of really raise themselves up as that buyer-supplier power balance has probably tilted slightly more towards the supplier, in ensuring that if they can only supply to one, then it's you, and that the innovation that comes from the suppliers, and many companies will say that most innovation comes from their suppliers, kind of comes to you as well. So that's I think the relationship one is a really interesting point. Nico, Hildie, look, I think we're about out of time. Thank you very much for your time, for joining us today and talking about those. I think there's some really interesting insights for everyone to take away. And with that, I want to say thanks to everyone for watching, and join us next time when we're back with some more CPOs to talk about procurement.